Welcome to the Harness series for Canary deployment. The first thing we're going to do is click Setup. We're then going to select our application, and we can see we've got an empty configuration of services, environments, workflows, pipelines, and triggers. The first thing we're going to do is create a new service. So we can click the Add Service button, give the service a name, so my microservice, choose an artifact type, so we're going to pick Docker image. The second thing we're going to do is then add the artifact source. Harness is going to give me a list of repositories. I'm going to go in, select my repository, and give it access to the Docker image on the file system. And from then on, any new build or version will automatically be picked up. We can also define the container specification for ECS or Kubernetes, as well as add any configuration variables or secrets you might want to manage as part of the service. Now that we've got our service, let's create an environment so we can deploy that service into. Give the environment production name, click submit. Next, let's add the service infrastructure. So I'm going to pick the microservice I've just created. I'm going to choose Amazon EC2. I'm going to pick my Amazon account, and Harness is going to populate the regions and the clusters that I can deploy to. So I'm going to pick demo, click submit. That's my environment set up. Next, let's build the Canary workflow. So let's add a workflow. Let's give it a name. Let's choose the workflow type, so Canary deployment, and then select the environment we want to deploy to. Next, we get a wizard that guides us through the Canary workflow. What I'm going to do is set up an email that's going to notify the team that we're about to do Canary deployment. This is a pre-deployment step. Next, I'm going to add a deployment phase. I'm going to pick my microservice, pick the infrastructure I've just created. Next, it's going to ask me how many containers I want to upgrade as part of this Canary phase 1. I'm going to pick 10%. After I've told it 10%, I'm then going to verify using Splunk. So I'm going to point it to my Splunk server, and for 15 minutes, I'm going to verify the errors and exceptions. I'm also going to add App Dynamics, point it to my App Dynamics server, and I'm going to monitor and verify the performance for 15 minutes as well. That's phase 1 all set up. I can go ahead and define a phase 2. So I can pick the same microservice, the same infrastructure, and now I'm going to choose 50% when I upgrade the containers. And given this is half my environment, I'm going to pick Splunk, and this time I'm going to configure it for 60 minutes as it's half my environment. That's phase 2. So let's go ahead and add the final phase 3, which is 100% of the environment. I'm going to, again, 100% if it succeeds. And then I'm going to verify again using Splunk for 60 minutes, and also App Dynamics. I can pick as many verifications as I want and the time period that I want to do it for. So there we have it. We've got our Canary deployment all pre-configured now. Let's add it to a pipeline so we can execute. So I'm going to go ahead and add a pipeline. I'm going to give it a pipeline name and give it a stage 1 production, pick my workflow. Now, let's build a trigger so we can execute the pipeline. So I'm going to add a trigger. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to trigger a new artifact of the microservice that's in the repository. I'm then going to pick the pipeline I've just created, and I'm done. That's my trigger. Now I can go ahead and start the deployment. So I'm going to pick my application. I'm going to pick the pipeline I've just created. And as you can see, Harness has automatically picked up the last version, and we can go ahead and do a test run of the pipeline. So now you can see how Canary deploy in production is actually running. It's sending the email, and it's running the phase 1 of the Canary as expected, and eventually it will complete. That's how easy it can be in Harness. Sign up for your early trial.